Hi, I'm Fran Rowse. I never want to do it's a bit formal to be like, this is me, but I do the project Cornish Maids, which is about Cornish cultural identity in Cornwall for women. So it's bridging that gap between our heritage and pop culture today and giving space for girls and women to explore identity. So I'm going to kind of talk a little bit about the layers behind Maids and the purpose of it, and then I'll talk about kind of all the fun glittery stuff and the prom dresses. So I know that's all anybody really wants. So I have lived in Cornwall my whole life. I come from a fishing and farming family, so I've lived a very traditional Cornish lifestyle, which has its ups and downs, but I've kind of drawn them together to create this project. So I grew up in Porth, between Porth and Penzance. My mum is a hairdresser in our kitchen, and my dad's a fisherman. And growing up, it was a very tomboy lifestyle. No pink really actually entered my life very much. And I think that's why when I started this, I just kind of started being aware of Paris Hilton and Britney Spears and stuff, and I was like, oh my God, I'm enamored by this whole world that actually people seem to be rejecting, which is also something I'm going to talk about in a little bit. So yeah, I grew up very traditional Cornish lifestyle. I then wanted to go to uni. I kind of wasn't allowed to get into the fishing family business, but my brother was swooped up into it, and that was kind of what he was made for. It was very much, I was kind of just left in the background, potentially, very much so expected to have a child, get married, and just kind of keep the Cornish lifestyle rolling. But I wanted to go to uni, how dare I? And my whole family were basically like, no, what the hell? What is uni? Because none of us had never been. And it was just kind of, it was the lack of knowledge on it instantly said that I can't go. But I pushed, and my mum was like, we'll figure this out. I don't really know what we're doing, but we'll talk to people. So I went to uni for 2 years, and then when I left, it was at Falmouth, and I lived at home. So it was kind of like a middle ground. I was going to leave to go to London, because I studied fashion photography. And that was kind of the aim of my game. Leave Cornwall. If I want anything, I've got to get out of here. There's nothing here for me as a woman, no opportunities. And then my brother and my family, the fishing started really taking off, and I was just sat there. I was with my mum, and I was like, why am I leaving? What about Cornwall makes my brother feel like he can stay and me feel like I have to leave? That it's so, even now I'm like, oh my God. So I kind of got a bit of a fire in my belly, and I was like, you know what, I'm not leaving. I'm just gonna try to figure this out on the way. So I started digging around in Cornish heritage, which is quite a hard to reach sector in itself. So a lot of my work is actually talking about bringing down highbrow barriers in Cornwall and allowing all types of people into all spaces, which is definitely problematic. So I started looking at heritage, and of course Bow Maidens were the first pop-up we all know and love. Known them forever, but they were just girls in bonnets, was essentially what we're told at school. I started to look, and they wore copper shoes and sacks, and the gooks were to keep the dirt out of their eyes. And it's kind of the reality of these working women holding down families in a really hard job. That's much more relatable. That's much more for the modern day woman, I think. Well, for me, it's much more relatable. So I started to look more, and then I found policewomen and carnival queens and the kind of people that I recognised, the kind of people that were living on my street, but how many years ago? 80 years ago, maybe? And that really was where it started, of actually, there's a story to be told, but sadly the story is being told by somebody that's not us, not women and not girls in Cornwall, and therefore the story isn't necessarily true or accurate. So that was kind of the start of it. And I then just basically started photographing my friends. It was super low-key. None of this was meant to happen. And we just dressed up, and it was about exploring identities and this world that I had never been aware of ever before. And the kind of seed that was planted and I didn't really know about was when I was about 8, this picture. Wait, no, not this picture, isn't me. It's kind of reference. I was about 8, my best friend's sister, Cassie in the pink, they all went to prom together. And it was literally the most beautiful thing I've ever seen. It was like these group of girls in this room, laughing, chatting, putting on these dresses, curled hair, huge pink ball gowns. And it was a lot, but in that moment, it was only them. They only cared about each other. They only needed each other. And they didn't care about what anybody else thought of them. And it was this strength in each other and this idea of sisterhood is something that I wasn't really aware of. And this picture kind of, you can see the reference, obviously, from my work in this picture. Here's another one. And this was actually the exact place where like we had our prom when I left school, so it's very Cornish in the fact of like everyone's been there and done it. So that was kind of the start of it. So I started photographing my friends, and then the dressing up happened after that because it was about the search of identity and exploring actually who are we? And unless you start dressing up and trying on, like, you know, when you're a kid and you do it and it's all fun and games, well, let's do that now because frankly, the lack of identity is probably more so than ever for people in Cornwall. Obviously with issues like poverty, housing crisis, all of these things, teenage pregnancies, that aren't discussed massively and should be. All those things put a stop to women having agency and sense of self in Cornwall, and that's what this is about. It's about dressing up together, putting on blue mascara, having a laugh, but essentially taking these pictures of girls outside their house and talking to them and opening up a conversation of how do you feel? How do you feel about being here? Do you love where you live? All of these questions that they're not asked. You know, like who's asking those questions to those girls? No one. And if they can't think about that and have time to consider it, they're just going to think that they have to leave. And it's such a shame. And it's not until kind of further down the project when people start asking me and I'm like, oh my God, there's actually so much weight to these images that I had no idea I was just doing. And that's why like I think it works well because these pictures are lived. They're not kind of like, I'm not going in and documenting girls. I'm like photographing us. I'm you, you're me. We're living the same life. It's a bit crappy, but let's figure this out together and have fun while we're doing it. So it's all photographed in and around Cornwall. None of the images are staged at all. It's basically bring a dress, put it on, try on a few, have a cup of tea, you know, sit with everyone, and then I just let the girls lead. I follow them, I facilitate the space for them to use their voice to be heard. It's really interesting, actually. I recently showed in London, and somebody asked me, and it turns my stomach every single time, somebody asked me, why do you photograph poor people? It's wild, isn't it wild? And I was literally gobsmacked. And it had never even entered my mind, because this is us. You know, this is just who we are, this is the life we're leading. And I realised really quickly that it's because it wasn't St Ives, it's not Padstow, it's not these beautiful places that are sold. And yeah, it's just still, I'm like, oh my God, and it's just really sad actually as well, of instantly looking around these girls and thinking, well, that's poor, they're poor because of where they are, and it's like, this is just our homes, this is where we live, this is where we grow up, this is what we call Cornwall. And that is really important for me to be getting across to people, of actually the voice of women in Cornwall. And I'm not here to say it for them. I mean, I say a lot, but I'm not here to like tell you how they feel. I just use the images, and the girls come along to the talks and the galleries, Ta-da. And I think that really pays homage to how important and impactful the work is for them to actually come and see themselves and be proud of it and say, yeah, you know what, I am here, this is me, and I feel amazing. Yes, so often people ask me as well, like the nitty-gritty of how I photograph. It's not very exciting, it's literally a camera and a light. Sorry, I want it to be more, but it's not. And I can't really rock up with more than that, because as much as I am photographing the people around me, there is a level of social documentary to it, and I'm not naive to that fact. So I'm aware that it can feel like documentary to people looking at it, but it's really not. It's really impactful, and I think people they often say like, "Why are they so sad? Oh my God, they look so sad." Especially the girl with the black eye, Amaya. People always ask me, why are they sad? And it's not about them being sad. Like, no one here is sad. We're just like, it's a bit shitty here sometimes. And we're not smiling, we're not in a bikini, and we're not eating an ice cream. But that's because we're not doing that every day. We're getting up, we're getting the bus to school, do you know what I mean? Getting school lunches, and living, struggling a lot, actually. And you see it on the news, and it's like, oh my God, poverty in Cornwall, da-da-da. But even then, it's glorified. Even then, it's kind of like this spectacle that is Cornwall. And it just frustrates me, because I know that girls feel unseen and unheard. And it's the world that's being built around us that allows that to happen. So, I started photographing them in Porth, which is where I live. And I basically photographed people I knew, firstly. And then the word started to spread. My mum's a hairdresser, so she helped that happen. And people just started to contact me. But the really nice thing about Cornwall is like, who knows who? Oh, your cousin told me, they're my friend. And that's how it happened, which was really nice, because this is all a natural process. Like or it's through Instagram as well, is like hugely helpful, because people see my work and then they want to be part of it, and it's really nice, and it helps it reach far and wide. So yeah, it started in my mum's kitchen, and it's really interesting. I only realised this recently, so growing up with a kitchen hairdresser, women were in and out of our house all day, every day, just constantly, so it was quite a hectic upbringing. But it was a safe space. They walked through the door closed, and it was like a tidal wave of emotions. People were crying, getting their hair done for the wedding, prom. Everything you can possibly think of has been discussed in my house around women, for women, giving them space to take up, that they're allowed to be in and they're allowed to be heard. And now I can see how that's so strongly affected positively the work I do, because that is what's important. It's about bringing people together, women, not men. Gross. No, I'm joking. And finding positivity within one another and safety within one another. And these images, when they are together, I think sing that quite well and quite confidently. I don't think a big kind of growing point for Cornish Maids was me finding out about the Merry Maidens. People know Merry Maidens? No? Okay, cool. It's a stone circle up at St. Buryan, and the story basically is, oh God, someone's going to call me out on it if I get this wrong, so I'm so sorry. Story basically is, these girls were up there dancing on Sabbath. Yeah. And then they all got turned to stone, because it was like, you're so bad. Don't dance on Sabbath, don't have fun. And that was so, I think it's so interesting for the heart of maids, of joy and excitement and this like overarching idea of feminine beauty and fun, for some reason, is looked down upon, especially in Cornwall because of our history. Like, Dolly Pentreath, she was the last speaking native Cornish woman, and she is described as like being a hag. There's paintings of her like bent over. Like, it's not cute for her, honestly. And it's just another negative connotation of a woman living in Cornwall that was doing amazing things, but is representing it as now being weird. And yeah, that's still something that I really struggle with. And I think also is another layer to giving women, these girls, their voices. Like, it's documentary, we're documenting ourselves for the future. People can look back and be like, oh my God, look at these girls. They were all doing really cool shit in Cornwall. And nobody's gonna tell women's stories better than us. And they're always told by men predominantly. So they're told differently or change narrative to suit different opinions. So this is, I think a really, really important place for conversation, and conversations being documented. And I do workshops with them and groups of girls that are like hard to reach is the term, which is horrendous to me. No one's hard to reach. You just need to go and get them. And I feel really privileged to have had these girls help me make this world, because this isn't, okay, this is me, this was my idea and all the rest of it, but if it wasn't for the girls that are photographed, this would be nothing. If these girls weren't opening up their hearts and their homes and their experiences, these conversations can't be happening. So yeah, I'm super grateful for like everyone that's ever taken part and continues to take part, because I don't think this will ever end. And I just think I'm gonna open up the floor to questions because, yeah.
Would you ever give them the camera? Like,
oh, that's good. Well, it's tricky because at the end of the day, I am an artist.
Yeah.
So that's really weird. Yeah, because it's kind of saying equally like to a painter, would you give your subject a paintbrush? And they would be like, no. I do workshops with girls, and I teach about camera skills, and we actually dress up, and it's really hectic and it's super fun. It's normally in village halls. But no. Is the answer. Is the answer. I just don't want to seem like a Debbie Downer about it. But
I'm just wondering, because like, as you're saying, everything is very much on their terms, like what they want to do, where they want to be. So they're directing it almost, and you're capturing that direction and being involved in it. So I'm just interested in.
Yeah, it's definitely like, it's a strange crossover between social documentary and it actually just kind of being like, it's like, it's art. I don't want to sound really like thinking it's something it's not, but everything that goes into artwork is also going into this. Emotional capacity, feeling, the hard work, human beings, all of that is still going into this. So, and I am the artist. I think it's probably, that's like the most roundabout way of saying it. But yeah, everyone chips in, and everyone is a space where we all kind of take part, even the mamas come along. But yeah, at the end of the day, here's my baby.
Have any of the girls wanted to be photographers? You've provided an example so that they're looking at you and thinking, I want to do that when I'm older.
Oh my God, I hope so.
I'm hoping, yeah.
I hope so. I would love that. Oh my, I don't think so.
You would be to them.
Yeah, I hope so. I would literally, yeah. That is the aim of the game, because growing up, I mean, my mum is a horrendously strong woman, like massively strong personality. So, but other than that, kind of the creative field and anything like that outside of the family home, I've never really had a strong female lead. So to get to here, it's definitely been like clawing my way into spaces that I probably shouldn't have been in. And I'm trying to stop saying that, because I shouldn't be kind of talking down about us. But I shouldn't have been there in my like juicy couture tracksuit. But I was, and because I got into them, that's how I started this. But people, if the knowledge isn't there, you don't know. If people aren't given the conversation to have, then you don't know. I didn't really know about uni. Nobody ever spoke to me about uni. But then you speak to other people and it's like, well, of course you're going to uni. Of course you are. Why would you not? Whereas I had no idea about it. Whereas maybe if somebody had sat down and said, look, these are your options in life. Exactly. You choose. And I'm not here saying uni's the one to go to. Uni's hard, being a mother is hard, everything is equally as challenging as each other. But the choice should be there to be made, rather than actually kind of the path already being there and saying, well, this is what women do.
Not just by chance.
Yeah.
The knowledge, but it should be there.
Exactly, it should be there, because ultimately there's a lot of problems with teenage pregnancies in Cornwall. And I think, again, that comes down to lack of conversation and lack of knowledge and lack of inspiration and kind of helping people see out of our villages. And because I grew up in Perranporth and I've just moved to Penzance, and I'm like, oh my God, the city. It's ridiculous. But like, it's so big to me because I'm used to just like a pub and a shop. Every time I say it, I'm, oh my God. So, yeah, it is about just having open conversations, which can be hard. But the problem is the generation that should have been having these open conversations with my generation just weren't, because they didn't have the knowledge. And it's just like a cycle that I'm trying to just kind of like break. And hopefully by going into schools and running workshops and...
Amazing.
Yeah, thank you. I really love doing it. And I actually just did a workshop at my house, because it was so funny. I just invited girls over. We did some work in my yard. And it's really nice. This is what I mean by my work is so open. It's not, I mean, it's hard to not be precious by your artwork, but it is like a platform for all of us.
It's the best thing because it's advertised. Everybody will talk about it. It will just be through
Yeah.
organically.
Yeah, exactly. That's what I was saying. Like, this wasn't meant to happen. Is that honestly, when it started taking off, I was gobsmacked. I still am. When somebody asks me to do a talk, I'm like, are you sure? Are you sure? You've got the right person. Yeah. I mean, I hope people look at the work and think, I can do that, because everybody can. Literally can. You don't even need a camera. You just use your phone. It's just finding something you're passionate about and really care about to shout about, really. And I think if you have the passion and you have like the sight for it, then everyone can do it. And I was just working with a girl in Bodmin, actually. I worked for her for about 12 weeks. And at the end of it, she was like, do you think I could be a fashion designer? And I was like, oh my God, obviously. Why would you not be a fashion designer? There's nothing in this world that's stopping you from being a fashion designer. I like bought in all this material and I was like, let's design. Like, I don't know what I'm doing, but you know, and it's...
And your influence made her want to do that.
Yeah.
Which is wonderful.
Yeah, it's really amazing. And every time something like that happens, I'm just like, that's exactly the point of this work, of saying, look, come and do it. Also, if anybody wants to know anything in particular about one of the images, I can...
The ones on the screen, are they what inspired you? The two on the is that what inspired you? You didn't take that photo, or did you? No.
Oh my God. No, I'm so sorry. No, I did not take that picture because I was like 8.
Exactly, I thought so.
Wish I had though, that would have been cool if I had. But no, I hadn't. And it was literally just a memory for so long. And then when I started photographing, and I was like, oh my God, Paris Hilton, Britney Spears, pink. What is this? It's a lot, but I love it. That I then went to my friend and was like, do you have those pictures of when? And then I had these, and then I was like, oh my God, my brain is on a piece of paper now. And so yeah, I love having these so it can show kind of like the organic growth of it. Yeah.
What's the reaction been to your work in Cornwall? I know you spoke a bit about how certain people reacted when you took it outside of Cornwall. But in terms of kind of like communities here.
Yeah. So positive. It's so good. I literally like, it just makes my heart sing. So nice because, yeah, like no one's mad about getting dressed up and photographed, are they? When there's prom dresses in the booty car, you're like, okay. Men, I have had some, had some pretty questionable opinions from. This one of Amaya, so I went to her house to photograph her for something else, and her dad and brothers were there, and it was so interesting. It was kind of like a social experiment, because they're all fishermen as well. And I walked in, and like I had all these prom dresses, and her brothers were kind of like milling around in the background, like, what's going on here? And she was so self-conscious. And I was like, just put on a tiara. Start chill, just wear a tiara. And she did, and then we would talk, I was saying like I loved her hair, and we braided it, and it just grew into this thing. And then an exhibition I had a while ago, her brothers came, and she was stood there next to her image, and was like, this is me, this is who I am. And was so confident, and really knew who she was, and what she wanted to be, and wasn't ashamed. And she had shed all of those layers of doubt, of kind of questioning femininity and whether it should be celebrated or not, and actually kind of taking the bull by the horns and saying, yeah, this is me. And that was such a strong full circle moment for me, because that's exactly the point of it. And I want people to talk about it, and I want very, very, very severely Cornish people to look at it and have an opinion. And no opinion's wrong. Like, honestly, no opinion is wrong. Okay, that is a lie. I'm trying to think of like something else to say after that. There are wrong opinions, but everyone is going to see this through a different eye. And that's totally how, artwork's supposed to be. But when I took it to London, it was different vibes. In London, in Cornwall by Women, it's just like celebrated. We all love it, funnest time ever. But in London, yeah, it was hard work. It was really, really hard work. Talking to people that were coming in, some people had followed the work and came in and were just like super pumped, really excited. And a lot of people came in and were like, what is this? And just didn't even want to know, did not even want to give it the time of day, unless it was about them being really sad and being poor. Do you know what I mean? Unless it was those two conversations, they didn't want to talk about, actually, this is where we live and we love it. This is who we are and we love it. They didn't want that, and I think it's such a shame, because our stories should be louder and heard more, because that is actually the reality of what Cornwall is. And if it was discussed more, people wouldn't be so shocked when they see it. Yeah.
I think there's a sense of ownership of place in these images, which is really strong, and for probably most people in this room, it's about being in Cornwall and you recognise these places. If you show it in London, I guess those visitors wouldn't relate to the images in that way.
I think that's what it was as well, because and that is also something I find like I struggle with, because galleries and museums and things, I never went in them until probably about the age of like 21. Because I was never welcomed. It felt appropriate for me to be there. I didn't feel like it was the kind of people I belonged around. And frankly, it still feels like that now a lot of the time. And they were the kind of people that were in London, funnily enough. So that was an interesting contrast of actually like, you're the people this is aimed at. You know, like, whereas in Cornwall it's a celebration and it's kind of like, this is us, we're here. Whereas in London it's like, yeah, look at this and feel uncomfortable. Because you should. But no, it is a sense of place, which, that's not really something I've massively explored, because I think it's just like fallen into my plate that this is our sense of place. Do you know what I mean? Yeah, it is our Cornwall, and I don't look at it, because I'm kind of like, this is where we live. But it is now. I can see that it is a sense of place and safety and ownership of that, I suppose.
Remind me a bit of the photographs that first were made when photography was invented, when people got very dressed up. But they had the set behind them.
Yes.
Very obvious. But here you've taken the set away, and you've got the real home.
Oh my God, that's so cool. Oh, I love that.
It's a real strength.
Yeah, well, thank you. Yeah, no, I'm just, I love that. No, I love that you see that. Thank you.
Yeah, I think when you said about the girls looking sad, they don't look sad to me. They look strong.
Oh, yes.
And the thing
Yes.
is, it's kind of interesting when you look at that picture of a classic prom picture. You know, the dresses are the same, kind of accent, but they're doing the photograph face, aren't they?
Yeah.
You know, the kind of, there's a particular smile that we do for the classic photograph, isn't there?
And that is so funny because when I work with girls, it's like for the first few shots, I'm like, look, shake it off. Stop doing Snapchat and Instagram. Just like, look at me. Like, you, actually, I'm always like, stand like you're waiting for the bus. Like, do you know what I mean? You're pissed off, your mum can't pick you up, whatever. But whatever you want to do, don't do Instagram. Don't do that. Because that's not who you are, and that's fine. You can be who you are right now. And yeah.
Because it's interesting, they're probably pre-Instagram, aren't they?
Oh my God.
They're still there.
Oh my God, yeah.
So
No.
that smile became Instagram, didn't it? You know,
Yeah.
the kind of
It's like
express-
staged.
Yeah. Whereas what's lovely about these is they just look, they're straight. I think it's that feeling of like they're just looking and they're just looking straight and they're not kind of.
Yeah. Well, it's meant to be. It is women by women. You know, like there's no male gaze involved. We're not, these images aren't meant to, like, you know, advertisement and fashion. It's like meant to be for the male gaze. Men are meant to look at it and be like, oh, it looks amazing. That is kind of like, that's disgusting. This is not what that is. This is about, I want women to look at this and be like, oh shit, yeah, I see myself in that. And then by seeing yourself in a positive light or seeing yourself represented full stop, you start to gain a sense of self. And then you can grow kind of with that. I just wanted to, this one, that is, I keep talking about her. But it often brings up some controversial conversations because she has a black eye. And naturally, I think people's opinion, especially around women, it just leads to like domestic abuse, which is 100% I hear. But this picture, she turned up and was absolutely mortified because her brother had just elbowed her in the face when she was getting into the car. And it was just like, I love telling that story because I think it's such a flip of kind of what people want to think and actually like what's actually happening is very, very different. So I think that's like a good take on kind of what you were saying about them not necessarily being sad. It actually is just, it's just what it looked like. Sorry, guys.
How do you pick the locations? Like, is it you're just going to their houses, or
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I just go to the house.
Yeah, and then you can sort of walk around the neighborhood.
Yeah, so I go to their house and then have a cup of tea, put on some dresses, you know what I mean, like have a fun time. And I'm literally like, let's leave, I'll follow you. I'll follow your lead. Where do you know? Where did you kick around when you were a kid? Do you mean like, where would you go now? And then I walk, and obviously I do in mind have an idea. It's just like, I like to make that really clear because I don't want to paint this picture of like, it's documentary, it's just, I am a creative and I do have an idea in what I'm trying to capture. So we kind of often walk and then I'll be like, this one's good, you know? So it's like, they pick a few and I'm like, this one's good, do you like this? Or if they're like, well, not really. Or there's like, their mate lives around the corner and they're embarrassed, then we don't do it there. But so yeah, literally nothing is planned. I literally just turn up with the dresses and we go. Even kind of like the accessories, that's all theirs. I don't manage. I don't choose that for them. We just sit there and I'm like, oh my God, these earrings are cute, or, you know, and it's I build it with each girl. So that's why I say, like, if it wasn't for girls and women wanting to take part and caring, like this project would be absolutely non-existent. So yeah, I'm like forever grateful for mums, sisters, everyone like letting me into their homes and having conversations. So yeah.
They're so natural, but when you look at them, you can sort of see you can almost see what they're thinking, or you imagine what they're thinking as well. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, that's what. Yeah, that's good.
Yeah, exactly.
Sorry.
I mean,
Like, yeah, that's really good.
yeah. It's, I like the one in the black dress. She was almost looking like quizzical, like a bit ironic.
Yeah,
Or as if the wind's in her eyes.
yeah, I think it was. Yeah, this is, yeah.
Yeah,
We literally just stand and talk, and I just like capture, because it is, I'm kind of like, just talk. Just like move your body, talk to me, talk to someone, tell me about your day. So the pictures are literally them.
It's very different to lots of feminine images of females who are very staged in the Vogue magazines and all that stuff. And it's a dichotomy of the way society's, still views women.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm old. 40 years ago, I was annoyed about stuff like adverts and rubbish
Yeah.
on the tubes, and it's still going on. It hasn't changed.
No, well, it's interesting because I studied fashion photography, so I have such a clear understanding of that, and I kind of use that to completely disregard it.
It's almost ironic.
Yeah, because it's like, come on now.
Yeah, it's because it's not the real person.
No.
It's a facade.
Yeah, exactly.
And why present a facade your whole life? You've got to be yourself.
But also, people take pictures for what they want to see. People are like, this is beautiful. This is what we're told is beautiful.
Yeah.
So that is now what we're going to show everybody. And then it becomes like a never-ending cycle
Yeah.
of never breaking through that barrier. And that also is a massive thing about the whole like pink tracksuits and curly hair and this over feminine idea, because a lot in our culture, this idea of like extreme femininity is frowned upon. I met a woman the other day and she was like, I've just turned 50 and I feel like I can finally wear pink again. What? What is that? It's wild. And it's this whole idea of actually feeling like we should be ashamed of femininity and what it brings, when actually like we should be nothing but proud. I'm not saying pink determines your gender also. I'm saying that if you like pink and you want to express your personality and you want to be this like gaudy, brash person, then that's totally fine. And let's do that and have fun. And yeah. So I get what you're saying, how in advertising and things that happens, and it still does. But there's a lot of female photographers now that are kind of pushing against that, which is really exciting and I think important.
I'm thinking about how when I saw you, whenever I've seen the photographs in person, I'm always looking up at them, so they're always higher.
Yeah.
Than the viewer. I'm wondering if that's intentional.
Yeah, so I do that on purpose. Because I want the girls, it's really simple, I just want the girls to have ownership of the room. And naturally, your eye line needs to look up to be like, oh my God, that is just a natural occurrence. So looking up and being like, having them on a pedestal and not looking at them and quizzing them or not looking down, all the things that are really, they're quite obvious, I'm not really saying anything new, but yeah, I'd put them up high because of that reason. I want them to have ownership of the space, and it makes them, not that they need it, it makes them look and feel stronger in what they're doing.
Are you showing again in Cornwall soon? The collection?
The question, the daunting question. I don't have an answer for that, honestly. It's a bit of a tricky time because I started photographing maids when I was 20. I'm now 24. So that's a long old time to be doing a body of work. So I'm going to be showing in London again, which is going to be exciting. But Cornwall is its home. So I really hope to continue showing it and continue shooting it, because it's an ever-growing body of work and I don't think it's ever going to have an end, because the voices of girls and women never need to stop being heard.
Did you show it Newlyn again? Or somewhere?
Yeah, oh my God, yeah, 100%. I would show anywhere that wants to have us, we're there. Do you know what I mean? It is, I'm like, the more people that can see this, the more people anywhere that it can be put up, in a bus stop, at the pub, whatever. Just as long as they're seen and the conversation continues, that's what matters. I don't know, because there's lots of other bodies of work kind of growing from maids. Because obviously different women approach me and have different stories to tell, which is all completely valid. Every story deserves to be told. So I'm kind of navigating that, and I keep looking over here because I just did the workshop at my house, and that was like a whole different vibe, and girls I'd never met before who just came over to my yard and we just hung out and did some work. And that is kind of what I'm still doing, is growing, putting roots, planting seeds for.
What's really good is that you probably tell people your background.
Yeah.
Or do you?
Yeah. Well, yeah, because like
So
I'm not
all
anything
that
special.
gives people, you know, they don't see you as somebody who's sort of out of their, oh no, out of their. You're completely open the way you communicate, and you give people ease, and they just
Yeah.
they want to communicate with you because you're offering them so much.
Oh, good. No, I'm really glad about that, because that's what I mean. I don't really see myself, like only recently have I really seen myself as an artist because of these kind of scenarios where I'm like, I feel like maybe this is what artists do.
With photography, it's so important to set the atmosphere, but you don't really set it, you're just you.
Yeah, there's not really an atmosphere set.
No,
Just kind of
exactly.
rock
It's
up.
just completely natural.
Yeah.
Which is amazing. It's really good.
Well, thank you. Yeah, it is completely authentic, and I'm glad that the pictures kind of show that, because often images of women, like we've said, can be very staged. So I'm glad that kind of what is happening behind it is
Have you seen
echoed.
some of the photographs of Martin Carr?
Yeah.
Do you like him?
Yeah. Oh God. Yeah, I've actually been referenced a few times to like have similarities.
Yeah, I thought that. Yeah.
But
But they're different as well.
and the difference is I don't go and document other communities. I think that's what differs here. Is I'm photographing
You're,
us, and I'm not going somewhere and photographing other people and having like an opinion on them,
yeah.
whoever they are. It's like, this is our opinion, here we are. You know, I'm not trying to make up a narrative that I think's right. I'm sharing a narrative that,
You're giving them an opening.
yeah, exactly.
Yeah, just to say thank you so much for sharing that.
Thank you. I am gonna